that universal feeling.
Oh boy, I think I know where this is going.
Right. So your alarm clock rings.
Mhm.
It is super early. The room is completely dark, and your bed is just incredibly warm.
The absolute best feeling in the world.
Yeah, exactly. So you reach your hand out, you find that one specific button on your clock or your phone, and you think to yourself, just 5 more minutes, just a little more rest. And then, almost like magic, you fall fast asleep again.
It is, it's a very dangerous game to play with your morning.
It really is. And the team over at the Easy Talk English channel, they actually call this the snooze button trap.
That's a great name for it.
I love that phrase because it highlights something so fundamental, right? No matter where you live, what culture you come from, or what language you're currently learning, daily routines are just this deeply shared human experience.
Yeah, absolutely. We all have to wake up. We all have to navigate through our day. And, we all eventually go back to sleep.
Right. And because that routine is such a universal experience, it kind of forms the foundation of how we connect with other people.
It really does.
So welcome to today's deep dive. We are exploring a fascinating lesson designed specifically for you, the English learner. And the topic is as fundamental as it gets. Talk about your day.
Which sounds simple, but it's huge.
It is. And before we jump in, I want to explicitly state our goal for today. We're going to keep things at a comfortable, relaxed pace using simple, clear words.
Right, because we want you to improve your everyday conversation skills without feeling totally overwhelmed.
Exactly. So think about it. Whether you are, standing in the kitchen at a party or sitting nervously in a job interview or even just chatting with a friendly neighbor by the mailbox.
This is the very first thing they ask you.
How is your day?
Yeah, it is the ultimate conversation starter. I mean, people ask it constantly.
They do.
But answering that question in a second language can suddenly feel incredibly difficult.
Oh, for sure. You might know all the vocabulary words in your head.
Right.
But putting them together so you sound confident and natural and engaging, that requires a very specific set of tools.
So our mission today is to pull the best vocabulary, the essential grammar rules, and the hidden storytelling techniques from this Easy Talk English lesson.
Yes, we want to equip you to master this everyday conversation. And to do that, we're going to look really closely at a real-world example from a man named David.
Yeah, David shares a very detailed description of his daily life.
And David's story is, it's just a perfect case study for us.
It really is. I mean, he's a bank employee, he's married, and he has a very, very structured routine.
Like seriously structured.
Yeah. But what makes his story so valuable for an English learner is not really the schedule itself. It's how he chooses to share it.
Right. Let's look at his morning. So David wakes up at 6:30.
Early.
Very early. He actually describes himself as a morning person, someone who enjoys waking up early when the house is completely quiet.
Which, is definitely not me.
Me neither. But he does it. He drinks a large glass of water, puts on his workout clothes, and goes outside for a 20-minute jog.
Wow.
Yeah, and after that, he showers, puts on his suit and tie for the bank, and makes breakfast.
And we should really notice how he describes that breakfast, because he doesn't just give us a generic category.
No, he doesn't just say, I eat food and I drink a hot beverage.
Right. That would be so boring.
He gives us specific, concrete details. He tells us he has oatmeal with fruit and a cup of green tea.
And those specific nouns, oatmeal, fruit, green tea, they're doing a lot of heavy lifting in his story.
I think this is a huge takeaway for anyone learning English. When you are speaking, using those small, specific details is what makes you sound human.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
makes your story relatable, It creates a picture in the listener's mind. Because if you only use general, broad words, you can end up sounding a bit like a robot reading from a manual.
Imagine someone saying, I consume morning nutrients to sustain my energy.
Oh, man, that would certainly end the conversation quickly.
It really would. But when David says green tea and oatmeal, your brain instantly imagines the steam coming off the cup or, the texture of the breakfast.
It invites the listener into his kitchen.
Exactly. And the way he describes his feelings follows this exact same rule. After his morning jog, he says he feels energized and ready for the day.
Energized. I really, really like that word because it feels so active.
It does. And the Easy Talk English lesson provides this brilliant definition for energized. They say it means you feel like you have a full battery.
Oh, I love that.
Right. You have the actual physical and mental power to do things.
Like a smartphone that has been plugged into the wall all night, just sitting at 100%.
Yes, Exactly like that. So David is energized, his battery is full, and he heads to his job at the bank.
Right. So he leaves at 8:15, drives 20 minutes to the office, and spends his morning answering emails and talking to customers.
Normal bank stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then at one point in the afternoon, he takes a lunch break. And again, the details he shares here are just so intentional.
hmm He doesn't just eat at his desk while staring at a screen.
Yeah. He goes to a small park near his office to eat a homemade sandwich because he wants to get some fresh air.
It shows a very healthy balance.
It really does.
Yeah.
So after an afternoon of, 2 or 3 team meetings, he finishes work at 5:30, stops at the grocery store, and gets home at 6:15.
And then he and his wife cook dinner together. And they spend that time talking about their respective days.
And his evening wind down is just as specific as his morning. No television.
None.
None. He prefers to read a book or play music instead.
That's probably why he sleeps so well.
Exactly. And right before he goes to sleep at 11:00, he spends 5 minutes writing in a journal. He says this habit helps him clear his mind.
So we have this complete, lovely picture of David's day. It is pleasant, it is productive, and it's full of really good habits.
But, and this is important, a list of facts like waking up, eating, working, sleeping can actually become quite boring to listen to if it isn't structured well.
Yeah, a list is not a story.
Right. So this is where we need to look at the mechanics of his English. We are moving from what David does to how he actually builds the story.
And the lesson highlights a specific tool David uses called sequence markers.
Sequence markers.
Yeah, these are words like first, then, after that, next, and finally.
So David says, first I drink a large glass of water, then I put on my workout clothes.
They are the structural pillars of his whole routine.
Okay, I have to admit, I want to challenge this idea just a little bit.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
If I put myself in the shoes of an English learner, these words almost feel a bit repetitive.
I can see that.
Like if I already know all my basic action verbs, if I know how to confidently say I wake up, I eat, I walk, why do I really need to sprinkle all these extra sequence words into my sentences? Doesn't it sound a bit like a children's book? First I do this, then I do that.
That is a really fair critique. And to be honest, it's a very common feeling among language learners. But let's try an experiment. Tell me about a few things you did this morning, but you are not allowed to use any words that indicate time or sequence. Just give me the pure actions.
Oh. Okay, let me try. I woke up, I made coffee, I dropped my favorite mug, I cleaned the floor, I drove to the studio.
Wow. How did that feel to say?
It felt incredibly sudden, like I was just, I don't know, throwing bricks of information at you.
Yeah, and that is exactly what it feels like to the listener, too. Without sequence markers, a story is just this chaotic grocery list of actions.
I see.
The Easy Talk English team uses a fantastic analogy for this. They say that sequence markers act like a map for the listener.
A map?
Yeah. When you say after that or finally, you are essentially holding the listener's hand and guiding them safely through the timeline of your day.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Right. You are telling them exactly where they are in the story, which totally removes the mental strain of trying to organize your actions in their head.
So the action verbs are like the specific locations we are visiting, but the sequence markers are the roads connecting them.
Exactly. They turn a random list of events into a comfortable journey.
Okay, I'm sold on sequence markers.
Good.
Yeah.
And once you have those roads built, you can start adding higher-level vocabulary to make the journey even more interesting. The lesson points out some excellent B2 level words that David uses to elevate his story.
Oh, yeah, like the word commute.
Yes, the commute.
A commute is specifically the regular 20-minute journey you take between your home and your place of work.
Right. So instead of using a long, clumsy phrase like, the time I spend driving my car to the office every morning, David simply says, the commute takes about 20 minutes.
It packages this big, complex idea into one neat, natural-sounding word.
That sounds much more professional.
It does. And there was another phrase that stood out to me from his evening routine. Clear your mind.
Ah, yes.
He said he journals for 5 minutes to clear his mind. What is the best way for a learner to really internalize that phrase?
Well, the lesson offers a really beautiful visual metaphor to understand it. Think about a busy workday. Your brain is full of emails, meetings, tasks, and stress. To clear your mind, means to intentionally let go of all those busy thoughts. It is like taking an eraser and cleaning a whiteboard.
Wiping the whiteboard completely clean.
Exactly. You wipe away all the complicated math problems and the messy lists that were written on it during the day. You leave it blank and calm so you can start fresh the next morning.
That is a very vivid image. I love that.
Yeah, it really sticks with you.
So David has given us this beautiful, detailed, well-mapped story of his day. He uses his sequence markers, his specific details, his whiteboard analogies.
Wow.
But let's be realistic about everyday life for a second.
Right.
Sometimes you do not have 3 uninterrupted minutes to tell a beautifully crafted story.
Very true.
Sometimes you just bump into a neighbor in the hallway, they ask, "How was your day?" And you only have about 5 seconds to answer before the elevator doors close.
That is a completely different social situation, which is exactly why the lesson provides practical, quick templates.
Yes, templates.
These are short, impactful phrases you can just memorize and use immediately when you are short on time.
And they give us 3 different templates depending on what kind of day you actually experienced. Let's walk through them.
Okay.
First, the normal day. If nothing special happened and you just did your regular routine, you can say, "It was a typical day. Busy but good."
And typical simply meaning normal, usual, or expected.
Right. It was a typical day, busy but good. Now, what if you had a really great day? You had a lot of energy, you got a lot of projects done, you can use this template. It was very productive. I finished a lot of tasks.
The word productive is incredibly useful, especially in a professional setting. It means you produced results. You didn't just sit there, you actively achieved things.
But of course, life happens. Not every day is typical and not every day is productive.
So
Sometimes everything goes completely wrong. For a bad day, the template is, "It was a bit hectic. I didn't have a moment to breathe."
hectic is a wonderful word.
It really is. It means very busy, but with an added layer of chaos and disorganization.
Yeah, and the Easy Talk English team gives a perfect, concrete example to explain this feeling. Your morning is hectic when you lose your house keys.
Oh, we have all lived that nightmare.
Right. You're already running 5 minutes late, you are rushing out the door, and suddenly you cannot find your keys.
You're throwing cushions off the sofa.
Checking your coat pockets, your heart is beating super fast. That specific type of panic and rush is a hectic morning.
I don't have a moment to breathe.
Exactly.
Now, having these vocabulary words, hectic, productive, typical, it's all incredibly helpful. But there is a massive trap hiding in this conversation.
A trap.
Yeah, it's a trap that catches so many English learners, and it has to do with how our brains process time and grammar.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. This is perhaps the most critical pivot in our entire discussion today, because when you are learning English, it is very, very easy to get stuck in one specific verb tense.
So explain the trap for us. How does a learner accidentally fall into it?
Okay, think back to David's story. When David describes his general daily routine, the things he does every single Monday through Friday as a permanent fact of his life, he naturally uses the present simple tense.
Right.
He says, I wake up, I eat breakfast, I go to work. He is talking about an ongoing reality.
Routine mode. General facts get the present simple.
But here is the catch. If your friend calls you at 8 p.m. and asks you about the specific Tuesday you just experienced, that Tuesday is over.
It's done.
It is a closed box. It is entirely in the past. So you must mentally pivot. You have to switch your storytelling into the past simple tense.
You know, I have a friend who is learning English, and this is probably his biggest struggle. I will ask him how his day was, and he will say, "Oh, today I wake up late, and then I go to the store and I buy a sandwich."
Yeah, that's very common.
And as a listener, my brain has to pause and sort of translate everything he is saying from the present into the past. I totally understand him, but it just takes a little extra mental effort.
And that extra mental effort is exactly what you want to avoid causing in your listener. You have to actively shift gears in your brain.
Yeah.
You cannot say, I wake up and I go. You must switch to, I woke up, I ate, I went to the bank.
I woke up. I ate. I went.
Making the shift, knowing exactly when to stop talking about a general routine in the present and start talking about a specific finished day in the past is a major, major milestone.
Real?
Yes. It is the bridge that moves a student from intermediate English to advanced fluency.
Yeah.
It proves to the listener that you have complete control over time in your storytelling.
That is a really powerful concept. You have to actively recognize that the day is over, the box is closed, and shift into past story mode.
Yes.
But here is the reality, right? Understanding the vocabulary like hectic and understanding the grammar rule like the past simple is great when you are sitting quietly at a desk and studying.
Sure.
But how do you actually remember to do it when you're standing in front of someone, feeling a little nervous and trying to speak in real time?
Well, that is the ultimate challenge of language learning, isn't it? Moving from theory to practice.
Exactly.
But the Easy Talk English lesson doesn't just leave you with the rules. It provides practical exercises for retention to ensure this language actually sticks in your brain.
Yeah, and the first exercise they recommend is a technique called deep listening.
Deep listening is a fascinating approach to audio learning. The basic concept is that you listen to the same piece of English audio multiple times, but your goal changes with each listen.
Okay, so how does that work?
Well, the first time you listen to David's story, you are basically in survival mode.
Survivor mode, right?
You are just trying to understand the basic plot. Who is this guy? What is his job? Does he like his morning jog?
You're just trying to keep your head above water and catch the main ideas.
Exactly. But the second time you listen, a psychological shift happens.
Mm.
Because you already know the story. You know he works at a bank. You know he eats oatmeal. And because the surprise is gone, your brain can relax. And when your brain relaxes, you can finally focus your attention on the mechanics of the language.
Ah, so you become a language detective.
Yes, you give your brain a specific mission. For example, on the second listen, you might decide to focus strictly on the sequence markers. You listen just to hear every single time he says, next, or finally.
Or I guess you could listen specifically to catch the time markers, noticing exactly how he pronounces 6.30, 8.15, or 1.00.
Precisely. By giving your brain one specific job, the overwhelming wave of a second language suddenly becomes very manageable.
That's incredibly smart. And alongside deep listening, they recommend a second exercise, a daily writing practice.
Yes, the writing.
They challenge the learner to sit down and write just 3 simple sentences about yesterday, forcing themselves to use the past simple tense.
3 sentences.
Yeah. For example, yesterday I drank coffee, I walked in the park, I felt refreshed.
Honestly, writing 3 simple sentences sounds almost too easy to be effective.
It does, but they use a brilliant analogy to explain why it works. They say that writing is like a mini gym for your brain.
A mini gym. I like the sound of that.
Right. When you go to a physical gym and lift weights, you are intentionally breaking down your muscles so they grow back stronger.
Right.
Well, when you sit down with a pen and actively write out a sentence like, I drank coffee, you are lifting weights with your language muscles.
Ah, I see.
You are forcing your brain to retrieve the past tense of drink, which is drank. You have to spell it. You have to structure it. That physical act of writing builds deep, lasting neuroplasticity.
And the science of learning heavily supports that analogy. Repetition and active recall are everything. Consistency is the true secret to mastering any language.
Consistency, yeah.
It is incredibly rare to achieve fluency by just studying for 10 hours straight on one random Sunday. Fluency is built through those small steps, that 5-minute mini gym session every single evening, adding up over months and years.
It is the small, consistent steps that conquer the mountain. That is an incredibly encouraging thought for anyone who feels overwhelmed by how much they still have to learn.
Just keep showing up to the mini gym.
Just keep showing up. Well, we've covered a massive amount of ground today. Let's briefly recap the core lessons we've extracted for you so you can put them into practice right away.
Sound good.
First, when you tell a story about your day, use sequence markers, words like first, next, and finally. They act as a map, guiding your listener safely from your morning alarm to your evening routine without losing them in the details.
Second, pay very close attention to time. When you are talking about a day that has already ended, remember to close the box. Switch your verbs into the past simple tense. Say, I went, not I go. Say, I ate, not I eat.
And third, do not be afraid to add specific human details to your stories. Don't just tell us you consumed food. Tell us about the warm oatmeal. Don't just say you were busy. Tell us your morning was absolutely hectic because you lost your house keys. Those vivid details are the colors that make your English sound natural, relatable, and fully human.
It is a really comprehensive and highly practical toolkit for everyday conversation.
It truly is. Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, something to explore on your own long after you take your headphones off.
Oh, I love these. What is it?
Well, earlier we talked about David journaling for 5 minutes to clear his mind, using that beautiful image of wiping a whiteboard clean.
Right.
And we just talked about the physical act of writing as a mini gym to make your language muscles stronger.
Two very powerful concepts.
Well, we also established that the sequence words and specific details you choose act like a map for your listener. But I wonder, do the words you choose also act like a map for your own brain?
Wait, how so?
Think about it this way. When you choose to focus your English writing practice on calm, positive details, like, taking the time to write about feeling the fresh air in the park during lunch, or enjoying the quiet morning house with your green tea doughs, focusing on those specific words actually change how you remember your own day.
Oh, wow. That is a profound question.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting that we shape our own memory and experience of the world through the vocabulary we select?
I think we might. If you only practice and repeat words like hectic and busy, maybe your brain starts to highlight the chaos, and your day actually feels more hectic in hindsight.
That makes total sense.
But if you intentionally practice words like energized, productive, or cleared my mind, maybe your brain starts actively looking for those positive moments.
Hmm.
Perhaps learning to describe your day in English isn't just an academic exercise to pass a test or survive a conversation. Maybe it is actually a rare opportunity to redesign how you experience your daily life.
You are essentially building a brand new map for how you see the world, and you are using a new language to draw it.
Exactly. I find that idea incredibly inspiring. So to you, our listener, keep practicing. Your language learning journey is all about those small, consistent steps.
And don't be too hard on yourself when you make a mistake with the verb tense.
Right. Just keep showing up to that mini gym. Keep lifting those language weights and keep looking for the details that make your story uniquely yours.
And remember that having a routine, making mistakes, analyzing them, and trying again, it is all just part of the beautiful process of learning.
Absolutely. So tomorrow morning, when that alarm clock rings and the room is dark and cold and the bed is so incredibly warm, maybe you don't hit the button.
Escape the trap.
Yes. Maybe tomorrow's the day you finally escape the snooze button trap, get up early, and start writing an entirely new story in English. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep practicing, and we will be right here waiting for you next time.